Yeah, hi friends. In this video we'll be discussing the test, right, that was held on 24th of May. So this video will be in two parts. This discussion will be in two parts. In the first part I'll be discussing the second question, that is the pressy. Right, so I have received the copies from you guys, and while evaluating the same I could see many mistakes, right. I could see that you have not been following the rules that we had discussed and the steps that we had discussed regarding the pressy writing. So while discussing the test, or while discussing this pressy question, I will be pointing out the errors, I will be pointing out the mistakes that you guys have committed. Right, there are many common mistakes that you have committed, so I will be pointing them out. You have to keep track of those mistakes, and you should not repeat the same mistakes in the next test as well as in the actual examination. So let us recap first. This we had already seen, but let me recap again, because many of you have made some very common mistakes. Let's see. See, we had discussed that a pressy is nothing but a shortened form of a passage. Now when we see that, when I say that it is a shortened form of a passage, it does not mean that you just have to cut short the passage and just pick up the sentences from the passage itself and just reduce the number of words. It is not that. Please keep this in mind. Please bear in mind that it is not just the lifting of sentences from the original passage. You have to, no questions asked, कोई दो राहें नहीं है इसमें, right? You have to use your own words. Now many of you have written the pressy, but you have failed to use your own words. You are just copying the exact words as given in the original passage. That will not fetch you marks, right? Please keep this point in mind. Now in a pressy you have to condense the passage to its main points, right? So when I say main points, it means that you have to find out the central idea of each paragraph, of each para. Now if a paragraph contains 2-3 main points, fine, not an issue. If it contains more than 5 main points, not an issue. But you have to identify all those main points. You have to leave all the trivial points, right? You have to write the gist of the given passage. Now what many of you have done is, you have picked up each and everything which is given in the original passage. You have not left out anything that is given in the original passage, and for that reason your the length of the pressy has also exceeded the word limit. Now many of you are writing pressy of 284 words, 300 words, although the question clearly stated that you have to write the pressy in 200 words only. So once you start picking each and every line, each and every small detail from the original passage, obviously your word limit will go up, right? It will be exceeded. So you just have to restrict yourself to the main points. You should have a good understanding of what constitutes the main points. So once you start reading the passage, you read it slowly 2 to 3 times. Automatically you will come to know that these are the main points, and I have also told you that the illustrations, the examples, all of them have to be removed. The next very important point is that you have to have a logical order in your pressy. That is, the different lines and the different paragraphs or the different points, they have to be well connected, they have to be organic, they have to be well knit. You just don't have to write one point, then next point, then third point without any logical connection between the points, right? It should be it should have a logical order. Now the accepted norm is 1/3 of the length, and in the question it was given that you had to condense the original passage into 200 words. Many of you have written it in 150 words. Many of you have crossed the limit and gone up to 250-300 words. Both of them are wrong, right? If I say 200 words, it means 190 to 210 to 20 words maximum. This is the range. It should briefly cover all the ideas stated in the passage in the order of the ideas of the original. So it is not a thumb rule, but as far as possible you should try to maintain the order of the original ideas. It is not a thumb rule although, right? Then your pressy should be such that it is easily understood by the examiner without having to refer to the original passage. So once you are writing the gist, once you are writing the summary, once you are identifying all the main points and not leaving any of the main point, automatically your pressy will be complete and easily comprehensible by the examiner. It should not contain any details not found in the original. Now many of you have written things which are not given in the original passage, or you have interpreted the thing given in the original passage in a wrong manner, right? So interpretation is very necessary, it is very important, and you don't have to be creative, you don't have to add details. You just have to write the details given in the passage in your own words. Many of you have done that. You have interpreted the details in a wrong manner, and you have changed the sense of the line, changed the sense of the paragraph. That should not be done. Do not insert any question in your pressy. it should be, this is the bottom line. See, it is very important that the pressy should be brief, yet it should be complete. Brief means 1/3 of the length. Complete means it should have all the main points. It should have all the main points. It should contain the gist. It should not leave out any main point, and it should not have any unnecessary detail. Now this also we had discussed in some previous lecture while we were discussing that how one has to write a pressy. I had told you these steps. See, you have to follow these steps. Do not ignore these steps. You have to read the passage very carefully, slowly, at least 2 to 3 times. Because until and unless you read the passage 2 to 3 times, which is the minimum, right, you may have to read the passage more than that. If you are reading the passage 2 to 3 times, you will be able to grasp the theme of the passage and grasp what is going on in the author's mind, right? So that is very important. The connections will become clear to you, the logical interpretations will become clear to you, you will be able to deduce something from the passage. But if you are reading it just once and writing the pressy, maybe you will not be very sure that what exactly the author is trying to say, and you will try to insert something from your own side, which is not allowed in pressy writing. So you have to read the passage very carefully. You have to extract and identify all the important points and leave the trivial points. You can leave the examples, you can leave the comments, illustrations given in the passage. The next step is you have to think of a suitable title. So once you are reading the passage 2 to 3 times, automatically a suitable title will crop up in your mind, that this should be the title of this pressy, right? Note down the length. Arrange the important points as extracted by you in a logical order. Very important. You are ignoring this point, that you have to write down the points in the pressy in a logical order. Your pressy should be a logical piece of writing. The various sentences should have a link with each other, right? So the general guidelines are that you do not have to use words or sentences or phrases as given in the original passage as such. Many of you have done that. You are using the same words. If the passage is saying that the effects of demonetization are ebbing, you are using the same word ebbing again and again, right? You are using the same line, that the effects of demonetization seem to be ebbing. That is not done. The pressy must be written in the past tense. Again important. You are writing it in the present tense. Many of you have written in the present tense. You have to avoid this thing. You are writing in the present continuous tense. It should be in the past tense and in the reported speech. Please keep these points in mind. I have been repeating these points again and again. This video is with you, right? You have to see the video again and again, and while attempting the test you have to apply all these steps and apply all these guidelines. Otherwise there is no utility in writing the test. You have to apply these steps. It must be written in the third person. Correct spellings, correct grammar should be used. Many of you have written very poor grammar. You have not even paid attention to the spellings. I could see only a few copies which were good, who had applied all the rules. Do not use such expressions like according to me, I believe that, I think that, and thank God none of you have used this. Let's come to the actual question. This was the pressy, right? So what the important points have been marked by me in red, right? So let's read the first paragraph. 6 months after the withdrawal of the legal tender status of rupees 500 and rupees 1000 notes by RBI, the impact of demonetization does appear to be ebbing. Does appear, right? They are not sure. This line clearly gives you an idea that the full picture on the currency withdrawal is not available. The complete data is not available. It cannot be said for 100% surety, with 100% surety, that the effects of demonetization have receded. But although it appears that they have receded, so this same theme, same thing has to be replicated in your answer. You should not give 100% surety that okay, the effects of demonetization have receded. It shows that they have receded. Although the passage is saying that they appear to be receding, they appear to be ebbing, right? So this is a very important point, that 6 months the impact of demonetization does appear to be ebbing. This is the important points in, or important words in this line. However, the full picture on the currency withdrawal is not available even now, as the RBI is yet to release the data on currency which has come back into the banking system. So basically it means that the full picture on currency withdrawal is not available, the complete data is not available, all the stats are not available, so as to give surety to this claim that the effects have receded, right? So we need the complete data to come at a definite picture or definite statement. Fine. Next paragraph. The government announced the withdrawal of rupees 500 and rupees 1000 worth rupees 15.44 lakh crore on November 8. while the impact on the real sector has been the sharpest in the months of November and December, the recent data on auto and FMCG sectors does suggest a revival in pent-up demand. Now the important thing here is that just 2 months after the demonetization was carried out on 8th of November 2016, in the next 2 months the real sector or the real estate sector was the sharpest hit, right? But the recent data on these two sectors, auto and FMCG sectors, it shows a revival in pent-up demand. Now there is a difference between two statements. If I say that the auto and FMCG sectors have done well, that's a different statement. If I say that the demand has revived, I can say with some surety that there has been a revival in the demand from the consumers based on the data of auto and FMCG sectors. That is a different story. Now you have to use the second sense, that the demand has revived, or we can say with some surety that the demand is reviving because the data from these two sectors shows that, right? However, when we come to the small scale sector, we see that this sector is yet to recover. Now when we come to the monetary sector, it has been facing the challenges of NPAs, and loan growth has also been low, right? So this is important point, that the credit growth here, bank credit growth as well as NPA. The NPA legacy is an issue and the bank credit growth is still to pick up, that is an issue, right? Digital transactions got a push from the government, but again the momentum seems to have dropped. Now you don't have to miss this thing, that the momentum seems to have dropped. Many of you have written that the digital transactions have got a push from the government, but you have failed to mention that the momentum seems to have dropped, right? So although it got an initial push from the government, but the consistency has not been maintained. That is important. Certain industries were impacted because of shortage of currency, and as demand fell and production slowed down, there was a drop in the employment, says a care rating study. Fine. Household spending declined in November to January but revived slowly after the curbs on cash withdrawals were removed. So the important point in this paragraph is that household spending, it although was affected in the beginning, but now it has started reviving after the curbs on cash withdrawal have been removed by the government and by the RBI. The overall growth was impacted. It did slow down in the beginning, but now it has picked up. This can be largely attributed, this means that the low growth, the dip in the growth, can be attributed to the negative effects of demonetization, which was evident in the case of all these sectors. So this point can be summarized to that the overall growth has suffered because of the negative effects of demonetization on the different sectors of the economy. Now thousands of small scale units. See here, small scale units is here also and small scale sector is here also. Fine. You can combine these two things. Thousands of small scale units which floundered after demonetization are yet to fully recover. Here also it is saying the same thing, that the small scale sector is yet to recover, and many have defaulted on loan repayments. Now once we talk about the monetary sector here, monetary sector or the banking sector also includes the MFIs, and here we are talking about that the credit growth has been low, it is still to pick up, and here also we are talking about that there has been a fall in the loan dispersals. So you can combine these 2 points, that the monetary sector along with the MFIs have seen a fall in loan disbursals, right? The RBI has been remonetizing the economy over time and the currency chart has followed a U-shaped trajectory. So RBI is taking steps to remonetize the economy over time and it is pumping money into the economy. Now the success of demonetization can be gauged only after getting the data. Now this was the first point that we were talking about, that it does appear to be ebbing, but we don't have the full picture because we are short of data. So the success of demonetization can only be gauged, or it can be only be said with surety that it was a successful drive by the government only when we have reliable and verified and complete data. Now the process of reconciliation of the accounts is still on, that is RBI is still in the process of compiling the data and the process is still on. And in the last paragraph, RBI has lifted all the restrictions on cash withdrawals from the saving bank accounts, which was earlier imposed on the date, that is 8th November 2016. So let's summarize the important points. See, these are the important points. Number 1, the effect of demonetization appears to be ebbing or receding. The full picture is, however, not available because the data is still not available. The real estate sector has been the most impacted. Auto and FMCG sector are reviving, demand is reviving. Based on the data of auto and FMCG sector, we can say that the demand is reviving. Small scale sector is yet to recover and has even defaulted on loan repayments. Here I have combined the paragraph on the first slide with the paragraph on the last slide. The monetary sector has gone through a challenging phase because of NPAs on one hand and low loan growth on the other hand. And the bank credit growth, including that of MFIs, is yet to pick up. Now again I have combined the points of MFIs in the last slide and the monetary sector on the first slide. The banking sector has been flushed with excess liquidity, which has prompted them to reduce the lending rate. The government is pushing digital transactions, but the momentum seems to have dropped. However, household spending declined initially but revived slowly after cash withdrawal was made easy. Overall growth did slow down initially but picked up later. It can be attributed to negative effects of demonetization. It here stands for the overall growth slowing down. RBI has been remonetizing the economy. The success can be gauged only after getting the complete data, and the process is still on. These are the important points which should be clearly reflected in your own words in the indirect speech, in the third person, in the reported speech, with the correct grammar and the correct spellings in your pressy. Right, these are the points which should reflect. You can ignore all the other points. Fine. Now I won't be able to give you a pressy here, because what I'll be doing is I'll be giving you comments on your answer sheet. Fine. So you have to go through those comments, and please be serious while attempting the paper. I could see lack of seriousness while you were giving the while I was checking the answer sheets, because you have not paid attention to the basic rules and the basic steps that I have been telling you. So please take a printout of the slide, or make a note of the slide, note down the points that you have to follow, and keep on revising that. Practice is the key. Don't wait for the test, don't wait for the assignment. Pick up any article from the newspaper and start writing it by applying the rules. Right? Please do that. Now in the next part I will be discussing the thought frameworks of the essay. Thank you.